Hi everyone, my name is Xiaojuan Liu. I'm from Institute of Botany, Chinese Academy of Sciences. I would like to introduce you about our recent paper on Journal of Ecology about growth-trait relationship in subtropical forest are stronger at higher diversity. Over the past decades, research has shown that forests with more species have a higher growth and productivity than forests with a few to single species. When we considering relative young forests, the effect of increased number of species on productivity has shown to increase with time. So understanding how and why these forests with more species have higher productivity is an important question in ecology. In this research, we focused on the individual trees because community forest depends on the sum of all the individual trees. Trees have different characters, called functional traits, that can be linked to growth rate and growth strategies. Variation in these traits can be linked to difference in growth. So determine the role of traits on growth and to determine if the role of traits for growth also depends with species richness. Here we ask 3 questions in our study. The first one is, do traits change with species richness? The second is, how are individual traits related to individual growth? Is this also depending on species richness? The third is, do trait growth relationships change with tree age and forest development? With these questions, we did the experiment in the world's largest forest biodiversity and ecosystem function experiment that was located in the South China, called BEF-China. The trees in BEF-China is planted in 2009 and 2010, which was designed with tree species richness with 6 levels, mono, 2, 4, 8, 16, and 14 species. In total, there are 566 plots, with each plot planted with 400 trees. Because forests consist of individual trees that can live for many years, and over years, trees change in size. So trees from different species have typically different characters we call traits, while trees also can change their traits due to the local environment. The values for the different traits can determine individual growth, but the surrounding on the individuals, like neighbor trees, also influence the growth, for example, because of the competition and the resources. So with this background, we select 547 individuals from 31 species. We measured the 9 leaf traits, 2 stem traits, and 2 root traits across 5 years in 5 richness levels. Here comes the main result. The first result is we first analyze if trait values would change with species richness. What we found is, if we considering all species together, the number of branches, leaf chlorophyll, and leaf phosphorus can slightly change with species richness at plot level. But at the species level, we found different effect and directly of trait changes with species richness. Altogether, these results indicate that tree characters can change with changes in local and community level biotic conditions. The second result is we found that growth-trait relationship becomes stronger with higher richness. From the 12 traits we measured, there were 5 traits that had over significant relationship with growth. However, more interesting is there are 6 traits that show the significant changing relationship between trait and growth with species richness. For example, we found that in plots with only a single species, in leaf traits, in leaf area did not result in variation in growth among the individual trees, but at a higher species level, we observed that individuals with bigger leaf area also had higher growth. So in general, we observed that differences among individuals in higher species richness plot was related to bigger difference in growth rates. Besides, we also found that this richness effect and the relationship between traits and growth were observed at the plot level, but also at the neighborhood level. The third result, we found the growth-trait relationship are changing over years. We found that if growth-trait relationship changed with years and if this was different for plots with a single species or with different species, we observed that per year, the number of branches had the strongest relationship with growth, and the relationship changed slightly between the years. In addition, the relationship of growth and the leaf chlorophyll has also changed with years. In addition, we observed that this yearly relationship were different in species monoculture with species in higher species richness levels. So with these three results, we give the main conclusion is trait can change with plot species richness, and growth-trait relationship becomes stronger at the higher species richness level, and growth-trait relationship can change over time. So in summary, our study made the initial step to show trait effect on growth are more pronounced at higher richness levels, indicating that to elucidate how functional traits shape biodiversity ecosystem functioning relationships, an important step is to considering the biotic content of individual trees within a community. Thank you very much.